afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the Tallahassee City Commission meeting. It is 3:02 on Wednesday, April 26th, and we've got a full schedule with a public hearing. At this time, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Michael Fagans of Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. They'll be providing the invocation. Dr. Fagans, thank you so much for joining us. And if everybody will please rise for the invocation.
Eternal and all-wise God, we thank you for the grace and the mercy that you have shown toward us all. As we assemble in your presence, grant us your divine knowledge and lead us with your Holy Spirit. Strengthen our city officials and this Tallahassee community that we would do your will and honor you. And we pray that our community would be better as a result of this. This we pray in Christ Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we begin, I do want to make a quick comment. Today is Administrative Professionals Day, Administrative Assistant Professional Day. Colleagues, as you know, Tammy Jimenez does an absolutely fantastic job keeping us running up on the 4th floor. I know she is upstairs right now as we speak, and she is watching on television. So I just wanted to recognize her publicly and thank her for the fine job that she does for us. Thank you, Tammy. And I know I speak for all of our appointeds and all of our divisions and all of the workforce whatsoever. We are one big family, and it is great to have incredible men and women in all different departments and in different roles. But our administrative assistants do an absolutely amazing job keeping the city of Tallahassee moving forward. So we certainly do appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Manager, do we have any agenda modifications?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we do. Item 12.01 is being removed from this agenda and will be added to your next meeting. That is the donation of $12,000 by Primary Indian Bank for the TFLA program, which is the Tallahassee Future Leaders Academy. They had some unexpected scheduling conflict and asked to move to the next meeting.
Excellent. Do we have any questions on the agenda modifications at all? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, as the mayor of Tallahassee, it is my honor and privilege to present two proclamations this afternoon. Of course, I'd like to invite any of my colleagues that'd like to come join me as well. And I would like to invite our wonderful staff from Housing and Community Resilience to please come join me as well. I was singing your praises at the budget workshop earlier today. I want to thank you for everything that you do for the city of Tallahassee. Ladies and gentlemen, from the governing body of the city of Tallahassee, a proclamation. Whereas April 22nd, 2023 marks the 53rd annual celebration of Earth Day, which began on April 22nd, 1970, to inspire environmental awareness and encourage the conservation, protection, and appreciation of our nation's natural resources. And whereas the city of Tallahassee has a longstanding record of environmental stewardship and is recognized for its leadership and sustainability initiatives, including being named one of the top 15 green fleets in North America in 2022. And whereas the city has developed and implemented numerous programs that promote recycling, green building, water quality improvement, litter control, and active lifestyles to help our community be sustainable. And whereas several programs focus on local food production to beautify neighborhoods, increase access to healthy foods, and spur economic development, including City Farm TLH and the Southside Farmers Market. And whereas Tallahassee is recognized as a bicycle-friendly community and has a nationally recognized park system with more than 70 miles of trails and 4,000 acres of parkland to protect natural habitats. And whereas Tallahassee has one of the highest percentages of tree coverage in the nation at 55% and has for 31 consecutive years been recognized as a Tree City USA, has received a Tree City USA Growth Award from the Arbor Day Foundation to honor its commitment to effective urban forest management, and has implemented a holistic urban forest master plan. And whereas the City of Tallahassee was honored as a gold-level LEED certified city in 2021 by the U.S. Green Building Council for its holistic, focused, long-term organizational commitment to sustainability and resiliency. And whereas the city performs free energy audits for customers, provides grants, loans, and rebates for energy-efficient home repairs and appliance purchases, and whereas the city is engaging the community in the development of the Clean Energy Plan, which is a roadmap to move the organization and community to 100% net clean renewable energy and reach the goals set forth in the adopted Clean Energy Resolution. And whereas the city is progressing towards those goals by operating a 62-megawatt solar farm on Tallahassee International Airport property, the largest airport-based solar farm in the world, providing and powering the city's municipal buildings with renewable energy, operating all-electric buses comprising 1/3 of the city's Star Metro public transit system bus fleet, and incorporating additional alternative fuel vehicles within the city's fleet. And whereas the city's electric utility has reduced emissions by the set goals for the 2020 Paris Accord and the Kyoto Protocol, now therefore I, John E. Daly, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the City of Tallahassee, do hereby recognize April as Tallahassee's Earth Month. In witness of each and every one of you, I have read into the record, signed with my signature, John E. Daly, dated April 26, 2023. Now, first of all, I'd like all of our departments to stand to be recognized because everyone plays a role in our goal of protecting our environment as we move forward. As I was saying earlier, we're one big family, but boy, y'all do the hard work day in and day out, and we certainly do appreciate it. Dr. Kimbrell Thomas, it's my honor to present you with this proclamation. A couple of words, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to all my colleagues and our public. As Aristotle has said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You heard the holistic approach that we have across this government with all the things we do with city farms, with reducing carbon emissions, with what we do with resilience and sustainability. So we certainly accept this on behalf of just one of those parts of the holistic approach we have from the Department of Housing and Community Resilience. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the entire commission.
Thank you. Shall we get a picture? Yeah. And for our last proclamation today, I want to invite the incredible staff from the electric and gas utility that's with us here today. Come on down, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Safe Digging Month, absolutely. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I have never done this, I promise you, but I know people that do not call in advance of doing work, and they have had issues, that is for sure. And Tony, I'm going to let you decide who's actually going to speak while I'm reading the proclamation. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, from the governing body of the City of Tallahassee, a proclamation. Whereas the City of Tallahassee proudly serves more than 130,000 utility customers annually and maintains thousands of miles of vital underground utility infrastructure. And whereas each year Tallahassee's underground utility infrastructure is jeopardized by unintentional damage by those who fail to contact 811 to have underground lines located prior to digging. And whereas unintended consequences such as utility service interruption, personal injury, environmental contamination, property damage, and even death are the potential results of failing to locate underground lines before digging. And whereas Sunshine 811 and the City of Tallahassee Utilities act actively work to prevent these damages through education on safe digging practices and promoting 811, the national call before you dig number. And whereas designated by the Federal Communications Commission in 2005, Sunshine 811 provides excavators and homeowners a simple, free resource to request underground utilities be located and marked at the intended dig site. And whereas excavators and homeowners can save time and money while ensuring reliable utility service for their communities and preventing serious injury to themselves and others by contacting 811 at least 2 business days before beginning any digging project, waiting for locate marks by local utilities, protecting the marks so they remain visible throughout the project, and digging with care around the marks. And whereas all parties agree that safe digging is a shared responsibility that helps protect Tallahassee's people, property, and the environment. Now, therefore, I, John E. Daly, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of Tallahassee, do recognize April 2023 as Safe Digging Month in the city of Tallahassee. Read into the record in front of each and every one of you, signed with my signature, John E. Daly, dated April 26, 2023. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for everything that you do for the city. We appreciate it. Tony? Oh, come on, Steve. Come on up, man. Come on up.
Well, Mr. Mayor, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Stephen Mayfield with the gas utility, and this is a good cross-section of our team. So I want to thank the mayor, thank the commissioners for putting this together. This isn't just for the gas utility, it's for all utilities and for the citizens of Tallahassee, and because this could be very dangerous. I want to say we've been lucky in this city that we've not had any serious issues. But this and some of the other efforts you've helped support us with on, encouraging better safe digging practices are helping us reduce excavation damage and third-party damage. We'll keep promoting. If you look around, you'll see billboards that have the messaging. So I appreciate everything you've done, and we will keep pushing to have people dig safely to protect our employees and our citizens.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And what's the number? One more time. Call 811. 811. Let's get a picture real quick.
Not 411.
Not 911. Oh, before you dig. I'll call afterwards.
They know I had him stop.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Porter, you are recognized for a special introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a point of privilege and recognize my mother, Barbara Jo Noka, who's in the audience visiting. And so you wouldn't believe it, she literally watches every meeting. So she even knows Stanley's address.
Okay, that's the joke of the night. That's good. That was good.
So thank you for being here. You are my eternal sunshine. Thank you.
Welcome
Thank you,
back
Mr.
to Tallahassee, and welcome to the City Commission chambers. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. Mr. Manager, we do have an announcement tonight. Let me turn it over to you real quick. 6.01.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 6.01 is the announcement of a proposed Brownfield area. It's necessary for me to read the following statement into the record to announce it. Mayor and Commissioners, on January 18th, 2023, you directed staff to initiate the process to designate a portion of Lake Bradford Road and Spring Hill Road as a state brownfield area through resolution. Under the Brownfields Redevelopment Act, the city is required to hold a public meeting and 2 public hearings. The public meeting will be held on May 25th, 2023 at the Smith Williams Services Center Annex, located at 2295 Pasco Street from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The City Commission will consider the designation and proposed resolution during public hearings, which will be held here in the City Commission chambers on June 14th, 2023, and August 23rd, 2023, at approximately 6 p.m. Mr. Mayor, that satisfies the need for the announcement.
Okay, Mr. Manager, will you just repeat the dates one more time for the public?
There are 3 dates. There'll be a public meeting on May 25th at the Smith-Williams Center, and there'll be 2 public hearings held here in the City Commission chambers on June 14th of this year and August 23rd of this year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Any questions, colleagues? All right, moving on. Do we have any appearances by other boards, governmental entities, or committees?
No, sir.
We are on the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comment on consent?
No, sir.
Okay.
Consent, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Consent agenda has been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we are on City Commission, item number 10.01. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first of several items for appointments to city advisory boards and committees. Item 10.01 recommends Ray Glasgow to fill a seat on the Environmental Board. This will be a first term.
All right, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
Staff recommendation has been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Item number 10.02, Mr. Clerk.
This item calls for appointment of 2 individuals to the 175 and 185 Supplemental Share Plan Boards of Trustees. Each of those boards has 5 members, 2 of which are appointed by the City Commission. This item recommends Jim Cook, me as the Treasurer Clerk, and Charles Hatch as those 2 appointments. Both are reappointments.
Excellent. Any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
I got a question about that guy, Jim Cook.
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
Been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 10.03, Mr. Cook.
Item 10.03 is appointments to the Tallahassee Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. There are 3 seats which have just recently expired. The names recommended for appointment tonight are Antoine Wright, Henry Lewis, and Julius McAllister Jr. Antoine Wright and Henry Lewis will both be serving a first term. They're filling seats whose members' terms had expired and are not eligible for reappointment. Reverend McAllister for reappointment.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Excuse me. Colleagues,
Move staff recommendation.
it's been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Porter. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Item number 10.04, Mr. Clerk.
Tallahassee Human Relations Committee has 3 seats that are being brought forward for reappointment in each case. Joey Arellano, April Lynn, and Beverly Williams would each be serving a second and final term, assuming approval of their recommended reappointments.
Okay, any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, colleagues.
Move staff recommendation.
It's been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Porter. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Item number 10.05, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor and Commissioners, the Tallahassee-Leon County Minority Women and Small Business Enterprise Advisory Committee has 2 seats which will expire on April 30th, here just a few days from now. Each individual in those seats is term limited and not eligible for reappointment, so the newly recommended members would be Colette Washington and Jaworski Vance.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Move for option 1.
Second.
It's been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Commissioner Porter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a quick question, either for our city manager or city clerk, treasurer clerk. Do we have a mechanism for residents who serve on these boards to provide anonymous feedback to us.
For the people who are serving on the boards
Yes.
themselves, like these individuals you're appointing
Yes.
tonight, to provide anonymous feedback?
Just a feedback form. I'm just curious if we have something like that.
I don't think we have anything formally in place in that regard. You know, with the large number of boards and committees we do have across, obviously, a variety of city areas, they're working closely with staff. So I think there probably is feedback on that basis, both formal and informal, but there's not a separate process for us to gather that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. I'm not making a motion that there be one. It was just something I thought about. I think all of us have served on a board like that at one point or another. I know sometimes they feel very vocal. They feel empowered to let us know we need food or, we need something else. I was just curious if we had a mechanism like that. So thank you.
Okay. We are on the introduction of ordinances, 11.01. Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11.01 is introduction of ordinance number 23-0-19, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending sections 12-93, 12-94, and 12-96 of the Code of General Ordinances concerning regulation of excessive sound, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 23-0-19 and set the first and only public hearing for May 10th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall. The ordinance amends the existing sound regulations to impose sound limits on outdoor amplified sound at establishments which offer alcoholic beverages for sale and which are located on property which is zoned central core and within the urban core. The ordinance prohibits outdoor amplified sound, which is plainly audible 200 feet from the establishment on Sunday to Thursday nights, commencing at 11:00 p.m., and Friday and Saturday nights, commencing at midnight until 7:00 a.m. the following morning. Mr. Lou Norvell, Senior Attorney, is available to answer any questions regarding the language amending the ordinance.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this?
Yes, Mayor, we do. We have 4 speakers on this item.
Okay, let's go ahead and roll through.
The first will be Dan Gilbertson, followed by Barbara Bumgarner. As the first speaker approaches, I'll remind or let you know that speakers will have 3 minutes for remarks. There's a light on the dais there in front of the mayor pro tem that will be green. It will turn amber or yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and then red at your 3-minute mark. You'll give your name and address.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Well, Dan Gilbertson, 459 West College Avenue, Tallahassee, Florida. Thank you for this opportunity. I'll try to make it quick. As you know, I don't feel that as it's written that this solves the problem. I don't know if we've really identified what the problem is, but as written, it doesn't solve the problem. And it seems to be, I'm sure it's not your intent, but it seems to be targeted towards one business, that's my business. And if this ordinance is written to shut my business down, then I would say you've accomplished that. Being central core, urban core, which is otherwise, when this was written, the entertainment district, it cuts out College Town. It cuts out, there's 3 businesses in this town that has property that live music or live concerts are held at. City of Tallahassee is one. The fraternities on College Row is another one, or around it, and Potbellies. You can have a concert at one place, but right next door you can't. I have no problem. We have no issues whatsoever with having different times for our concert level sounds. The time in there ending at 12 o'clock is very reasonable. We control those ticketed events because we're the only ones that offer that atmosphere to people. We can do that, but there's plenty of places at 11 or 12 o'clock that other people can go. We cannot provide music at barely audible to be able to have the sound level above the normal conversation of people. So we look forward to working and say, this is not the right solution. There is one. We're willing to work with you, and I was a part of the solution before. The ordinance came in, we operated under the law, and nobody came to us with a complaint. We weren't ignoring complaints. We were not working with people. We were working with exactly what was under the law. And we're willing to invest in the property, invest in what we need to, but we need a reasonable standard that we can measure at to be able to operate. So we look forward to participating in the hearing. We just ask that it's a little quick, and I think it's a little premature to pass this, a little tweaking, and I'll work with the stakeholders and try to accomplish this to solve it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Barbara Bumgarner, followed by Eric Mullins.
Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Barbara Bumgarner. I live at 2015 Winthrop Way and work at 502 West Jefferson. I'm here to represent over 400 residents comprised of graduate students, law students, and working-class citizens who live in the downtown area. Many of these residents also work in the downtown area. These citizens have been adversely affected over the last few years due to loud, amplified music late into the night, night after night, disrupting their sleep and their quality of life. All of these citizens have chosen to live in the downtown area for one reason or another and contribute to the vital downtown, 18-hour downtown. I want to express our appreciation for the time and hard work that city staff, the mayor, and city commissioners have put into reviewing and updating the noise ordinance. While this ordinance revision does not fully address all issues, it does reflect a compromise that will be a marked improvement over where we have been. We appreciate your attention to this and just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Eric Mullins, and then Blake Sandler. Eric Mullins is next. Oh.
Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Mullins, 600 West Gaines Street, with the Residence Inn right there on the corner of Railroad. I don't like either option. I don't know why we're targeting specifically alcohol vendors. I don't know why we're drawing lines inside of lines inside of lines on maps. For an example, if you pull up 534 East College Avenue inside the city core for the last year, within a quarter mile, you have 6 noise incidences recorded. 226 North Duval, you have 3. You come to 600 West Gaines Street, we have 73. You go to 1100 Railroad Avenue, they have 74. So the cars we see, they're not licensed alcohol vendors. Lots of the noise problems we experience with neighbors, they're not licensed alcohol vendors. And it's all really pointless because we're not in the city core or the city central or whatever. So anyways, you guys are going to do what you want to do and go from there. I guess we'll be back in a couple of months for more satisfaction or more resolution to our noise problem. And thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please, Mr. Clerk.
Blake Sandler, and Mayor, that's the last speaker that I have a card for.
Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Blake Sandler. I live at 415 St. Francis Street. I represent the Citizen Committee on Noise Pollution, the HOA Board of the Cloisters of All Saints, and the All Saints District Community Association. I'm here today to discuss my concerns with the newly proposed noise ordinance. While I appreciate the city's efforts to regulate noise and revise this ordinance, I believe that some of the proposed ordinance changes fall short in several ways, which is why I would urge you to conduct a 6-month review of the noise ordinance to determine its effectiveness. One of my main concerns with the proposed ordinance, which has been said already, is that it only regulates places that sell alcohol. Residences and other establishments that don't sell alcohol will still be free to make excessive noise levels, and believe it or not, there are a lot of house parties in Tallahassee, especially downtown near the universities, that generate a great deal of noise and are a disturbance to the neighborhoods. So we still need a noise ordinance that regulates noise across the entire urban core, not just places that sell alcohol. Additionally, I'm concerned that the proposed ordinance will only affect 47% of the urban core, even without that alcohol rule, as a lot of the urban core is not located in the central core. So this change would leave 53% of the urban core with unregulated noise until 2 a.m., a lot of which is residential. And if we want to improve the nuisance issue, we need to regulate the entire urban core with this new rule and not leave parts of it unregulated until 2 a.m. I live next to college students that are renting the apartments nearby, and they play loud raucous bass in my neighborhood on a regular basis in their backyard so everyone can hear. But this new ordinance will continue to leave these issues unresolved. And there's nothing in the rule that makes residents playing loud outdoor music take their sound equipment inside, and we just want peace in our neighborhoods. So it's essential that we recognize that we want to live downtown, but we also want reasonable quiet hours. And we're not going to have these multi-generational families living downtown if we don't let people live here with reasonable quiet hours like every other city in America does. We need to find a balance between vibrant city living and peaceful living environment. And as a homeowner downtown, I would go with option 2 and direct city staff to provide more protections for the residential areas. But if we're going to move forward with this, we need to at least ensure that we are going to continue to monitor this issue. So that is why I'm asking for a 6-month review. This review will allow the city and its citizens to determine if the proposed ordinance is effective. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, our next speaker.
No other speakers on this item, Mayor.
Okay. Madam Attorney, am I correct in thinking that there's no action to be taken tonight except for to accept the introduction of the ordinance?
That is correct.
All right, let's open it up for discussion and direction.
Move option 1 as recommended by the city attorney, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Matlow. You got my eye first. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Item number 11.02, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 11.02 is introduction of ordinance number 23-Z-18, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory located on .40 acres on the west side of Old Bainbridge Road, approximately 575 feet south of the Commercial Park Drive, as medium-density residential MR1 from light industrial M1 on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission. Providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 23-Z-18 and set the first and only public hearing for May 10th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee, City Commission chambers at City Hall. Any ex parte disclosures concerning this item are available via the hyperlink included in the agenda item as published in the board docs system.
Excellent. Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, colleagues.
Move city attorney's recommendation.
Okay, City Attorney's recommendation is the introduction of the ordinance, properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Do we have any other ordinances to be introduced this evening?
No, Mayor, that was the last ordinance to be introduced.
Okay, excellent. We are on item number 12.02. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each year during this time, during Earth Month, staff provides an update as to the city's sustainable efforts and the sustainability of the programs that we have. The City Commission, you have been very clear in your commitment to the environment and programs and initiatives that we have to make sure that we're an environmental leader with your stewardship and sustainability. That ranges, as you mentioned earlier, from our commitment to be a renewable energy community. We were one of the first to do that, and we're making good progress. All the way to our green fleet, we have made remarkable progress to convert our fleet, including some of our buses, to electric in a more environmentally sustainable way. This year's Sustainability Spotlight highlights many of the initiatives you have approved and implemented across our city government. And each department plays a role in that. Adam Jacobs is here. I'm going to ask Adam to share a few comments. Adam, as you guys know, he's instrumental in this, and he's head of our Housing and Community Resilience Sustainability area. And with that, Adam, if you'll share our sustainability highlights for 2023.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. City Manager, for the opportunity to provide an overview of the 2023 Sustainability Spotlight, which shines a light on some of the many sustainability initiatives implemented across city government. As you all know, the City of Tallahassee has a long-standing history of sustainability, and the Spotlight builds upon that tradition by highlighting a broad number of sustainability efforts, showcasing how sustainability is infused across our operations and supporting the strategic plan objective to be a leader in environmental stewardship. We also want to note that many of the efforts were successful due to the partnerships, internal and external, and sustainability can move further through collaboration. We'd like to thank the Communications Department for significantly helping put together the spotlight and recognize our Sustainability Coordinator, Kelly Corvin, right behind me, who served as lead and coordinated with other city departments for this effort. With that, we are here to present the 2023 City Sustainability Spotlight. The Spotlight is organized across 8 target areas, and the following are some of the highlights within those areas. The city was recognized as a Green Fleet, a Tree City USA, and a Smart Energy provider. The city provided environmental training for over 600 employees and partnered with Rethink Energy Florida to launch the SEED project aimed at expanding residential solar in underserved communities. We continue to oversee the City Farm Pilot Farm and have graduated 59 participants through the program's inception, and the city was awarded $900,000 to address Brownfield. The city planted over 750 trees and reclaimed approximately 17.5 million gallons of water per day. Over 114 million kilowatt hours of electricity were delivered by the city's solar farms, and an estimated 11.9 million kilowatt hours of electricity were generated by the city's solar net metering program. Through single-stream recycling, over 11,760 tons of material were collected and recycled, and over 2.4 million passenger trips were taken on Star Metro. Also, we'd like to highlight how we're incorporating sustainability into the city's resilience hubs as we move several projects forward to strengthen them, largely through grant funding. The projects include stronger and more energy-efficient windows and doors, energy-efficient HVAC and lighting, as well as enhancing solar at some of the city's facilities. As we move forward, the Sustainability Division will continue to work with department representatives on the city's sustainability team, assisting with monitoring our sustainability-related initiatives and using the framework that you see in the spotlight to identify additional opportunities to move the needle on sustainability. And of course, highlighting these efforts through our annual Sustainability Spotlight. Thank you again for the chance to present today, and staff recommends that you accept the 2023 City of Tallahassee Sustainability Spotlight. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Adam, thank you. Wonderful presentation, and congratulations. Yeah, I was just telling the city manager, you're a rock star, man. You do great work. We really do appreciate it. You and your entire team.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Do we have any public comment on this item, Mr. Clerk?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Okay, before we get into direction, I do have a request.
Yes, sir.
So today at 6 o'clock at the public hearing on unagended speakers, we are going to have, I believe, some elementary school students that are going to come and present an idea in regards to a butterfly garden, which I also know is extremely important to our urban gardens and everything. And so I ask that the department work with them and help them accomplish their goal. They got a great idea in regards to the future development of the Northwood Center and the green space that we have out there. But yeah, let's use our resources and help them out as much as we can.
Absolutely appreciate that.
Excellent, great. Any comments, direction? Commissioner Richardson, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first of all want to commend the city manager for his leadership in this effort. Without his leadership and that of a tremendous staff, as you've indicated, none of this could have been accomplished to the degree that it has. The award-winning initiatives that we've got that benefit this community on a day-to-day basis. So I just wanted to express my gratitude for the work that you all do, and we're just glad to have you on board. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. I'm assuming that's also a motion.
That would be a motion to accept the report.
There's a motion by Commissioner Richardson to accept, seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem, and you are recognized for comment as well.
Thank you. I wanted to also pile on and say, great job, team. I have a personal comment. The Four Oaks Park, the new park, is where my 5-year-old grandson plays T-ball. and I'm very proud to be able to go there and see all the activity that's taking place there from the young folks all the way to the seasoned folk. There's cricket and pickleball and all going on there. And I think we probably need to toot the horn of staff a little bit more about this park. How much did it cost to put this park together?
Well, Commissioners, you know, that's a less a loaded question. So
Softball question.
So let me, I appreciate you asking that question because I do believe we should brag on our folks. And this is, all of these efforts are across many departments in our Parks and Recreation, Neighborhood Affairs group led by Ashley Edwards. They really wanted to do a great job at that Four Oaks Park, and they begged for every dollar they could get. We scratched up $3 million, and they built a 40-acre park with more amenities than you can list.
But it was tough.
And it was hard, and they did a lot of the work in-house, and they really made ends meet, and they proved what we could do with not a lot of resources, but a lot of dedication. And thank you for asking about that, and everybody deserves a lot of credit. Not limited to our Parks and Recreation Department, everybody was involved.
Yeah, I remember when we were there for the ribbon cutting, all of the different departments that were involved. Also, the community gardens are also, to me, it's just amazing. Having grown up with a garden around our house that I detested because I had to be the one doing it.
Harvesting? Doing the harvesting?
No, the planting, watering,
okay.
debugging, and harvesting, and ultimately eating. I am really pleased and impressed with the classes of community members who sought this out and are taking these classes and doing them. I see there's actually a picture in the pamphlet that has, I think it may have been the last class that was there, and Commissioner Richardson and I had the opportunity to be there for that graduation. So great work. I love being able to see what we're doing in our community, talking about the planting of trees and other things that make our city the beautiful city that it is. Thank you. Thank everybody who played a part in making this happen.
Excellent. Any other comments? Okay, the motion has been properly made to accept the staff presentation and the report. Thanks again, Adam. Really do appreciate it. Motion was made by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. We are on item number 12.03, approval of city sponsorship of the Habitat for Humanity's home. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If all of the items could be like the last one and this one, I think, I'm not sure we would know what to do with ourselves, but this is a fantastic item. And as the commission knows, and I think the community has heard, last week we celebrated the 17th Habitat for Humanity home that was built with the city, with funding, and not only just funding, but thousands of hours of volunteer work by members of our departments. And so this is the time of the year we come back before you and ask for money for next year so that we can build more, as well as the commitment to move forward with our Habitat for Humanity partners. So I would like Dr. Kimball Thomas, his area leads this charge. They do fantastic work, and to recognize our guests and the partnership. And once again, we're asking you to make the commitment to move forward with up to 3 lots for Habitat for Humanity homes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, respective officials. It's certainly with great pleasure that we bring you this item. As you know, we continue to do all the things that we can do to make sure that we have more affordable housing in our pipeline. This is just one of those many strategies that we have with our Habitat for Humanity City Bill. I want to acknowledge Mr. Antoine Wright, the CEO. You'll see in the presentation about sweat equity hours. I can tell you he's now the CEO that sits in an air-conditioned office. He's out there. He's putting in the sweat as well. So we thank you, Antoine, for being here and also being a part now of the Tallahassee Housing Authority Board. So thank you. So as you can see from the slide, this is a uniform effort. We certainly put in the hours. This is, as you know, aligned with your strategic plans, goals and objectives that we will have those homes built. We try to do 10 by our 2024 goal. Our 16th and 17th bill since we've been starting this partnership this year now puts us from when we taken our baseline data in 2019, we're right at 9 with 1 more home to go this year that I know Antoine is excited about as well. Our partnership with Habitat, as you can see, it goes across departments. All departments are invited to, and city staff to put in the hours of building homes. I want to pause that. City staff puts in the hours, the sweat equity, to build these homes. We built 17 city-sponsored home builds, over 6,800 plus volunteer hours. Now think about that for just a moment. That is of current and retirees that put in those hours. When you look at it, if you did it on a 24-hour basis, that is 283 calendar days of sweat equity that we've done since we initiated this program. That's almost 80% of a calendar year. So I want to thank current departmental staff. I want to thank retirees that have been part of the 2 homes that we recently built on Volusia Street. Just a great effort, as you can see from the pictures there of the partnership. So when you look at how this works, you get a donated city lot. The construction for home sponsorship now is $85,000 due to cost of labor and supplies. Actually, since I did my slide, Antoine is up to sweat equity hours. Now it's 400 hours for the homeowner themselves. So that's the kind of CEO Antoine is. And so we have affordable homes. These are targeted at those at or below 80% AMI. And of course, in return, the state community contribution tax credit, we get that in return for the investment that we make. Those are the recent 2 homes on Volusia. Luann Winter is a part of our city staff with underground utility public infrastructure. Has been supported so well. Mr. William Young, single parent, raising his family, very proud homeowners. As you can see those 2 in respective pictures. Very beautiful groundwork as well. And we asked you for option 1 that you approve $255,000 and the donation of up to 3 city-owned parcels to sponsor the construction of Habitat Humanity homes for fiscal year 23-24.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Appreciate it. And, you know, I was there for the groundbreaking and I was there for the ribbon cutting, and it was just absolutely amazing to be with the city family to help finish that. Those 2 houses. It's a great program. Antoine, I want to give you an opportunity to speak if you'd like to speak on behalf of Habitat as well.
Yeah. I thought we might want to also mention the partnership with, where you had.
I'm heading there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm heading there as well.
I won't steal your thunder.
Go ahead. Antoine, good to see you, man.
It's good to be seen. It's good to see you guys. I just would like to say thank you to the City of Tallahassee. Thank you, commissioners and staff. You guys are amazing. It's great to live in such a wonderful city. And to all of the departments, department heads, it's an incredible job we do together. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I also want to go ahead and make a comment. And if this isn't what you're thinking, I'll give you an opportunity to. But the Work Done Foundation does such an amazing job with their corporate partners, Aaron's Rental in particular, to furnish the houses. And it's just an amazing celebration all the way around. And I want to state it for the record how much our community does appreciate Mr. Dunn's work and the work that his foundation does as well. Antoine, I do think I am the only city employee that's been invited off of the build site to go pick up lunch for everybody because I was doing more construction damage than actually helping. But I give it my best, man.
17 houses, and we're still working on that. So.
That's right. There's hope. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, let's open it up for direction. And Mayor Pro Tem and then Commissioner Richardson.
Well, I will make the motion for option number 1.
Second.
Been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Mayor Pro Tem, you have the floor.
Thank you. I wanted to also pile on about work done.
Yeah.
And the level of detail that goes into what they do. This was the first time I've been in a home that he actually furnished. Everything they needed, all the way down to toilet paper, washing powder, apple pie. He said that was his mom's favorite pie. So there was an apple pie on the table, computer for the home. Just every level of detail. And to see the look on those young people's faces when they saw their room, it was just wonderful. And Luann and Mr. William from next door, I think they're going to be neighbors who look out for one another. And I think that because they have that bond of building their homes together. So I think that was a great view of what community looks like. And so hats off to Mr. Dunn and his foundation and everyone, Habitat for Humanity, City of Tallahassee, and other community volunteers who work to make this happen. So we want, I like it, I love it, we want more of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those who don't know Warwick Dunn, he was a star athlete, football player, running back at the Florida State University here in Tallahassee, and has taken it upon himself to provide housing for those who are in need. And we certainly welcome the partnership that he brings to that effort. And this is just one of the initiatives that we've got going on in the city of Tallahassee to make sure that all of those individuals who need to be housed, who want to be housed, have that opportunity, regardless of their income level. And so, Antoine, thank you and your staff for what you do, and we certainly are continue to support the partnership and the efforts that you put forward to ensure that those individuals in our community that want and need to be housed have that opportunity. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. On a final note, I want to thank all of the city employees for the hundreds of hours that you put into building those houses. It is absolutely amazing we get to see you, during the work days, but to get together on your own time to volunteer is just absolutely amazing. Motion's been made by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. We are on item number 12.04, the approval to apply and expend for Federal Transit Administration grant. Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. Let me just add a few words, and I'm going to ask Angela to share a few comments. Mayor, Commissioners, our Star Metro department relies heavily on federal funding and grants. And I will say under Angela's leadership, I think we have been more successful than ever. So no pressure on this one. And we're taking a big swing. As you know, and I just mentioned, we're converting our fleet to electric buses. We've made it a long way. I think we're at maybe 19 today. About a third of the fleet is electric, which is amazing. And we're taking a big swing to get a grant. The FTA, or the Federal Transit Administration, released this year what's referred to as the Low or No Emissions Grant Program. I think this application that we have is tested, and I think it's very comprehensive, and I think it's competitive. You never know what's going to happen, but we're asking your approval to apply for this grant and accept it if it's awarded, and it's a $20 million grant. I would love for Angela just to give us a little broader view of what's happening at Star Metro and how this fits together.
Angela, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, City Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and appointed officials. Star Metro is excited to apply for this competitive federal grant because it gives us an opportunity to support the city's clean energy resolution and strategic plan by investing in critical charging infrastructure and electric buses. Converting our entire fixed route to non-emission vehicles by 2035 and the infrastructure needed to charge and maintain a battery electric fleet of that size has been a logistical, technical, and operational challenge met enthusiastically not only by Star Metro, but other city departments, including our Fleet Management Department, Resource Management, Grants, UUPI, and Electric. This grant opportunity also supports the Strategic Plan's Objective 4E to ensure public transit is accessible, efficient, and equitable, and Objective 4B to be a leader in environmental stewardship. To that point, Star Metro and Fleet are already statewide leaders in operating battery electric buses, or BEBs, and low or no emission vehicles. As seen here and mentioned earlier, we're 1/3 on our way toward full fleet conversion. And with that comes almost a decade of experience in maintaining and operating battery electric buses. We're also statewide leaders in charging those electric buses, as we've already installed en-route chargers. We're topping off at CK Steel Plaza and FSU, as well as depot chargers for overnight charging at our Appleyard facility. Our planning, operations, and fleet teams work hand in hand in coordinating the routes and timing needed to make operating electric buses and daily service a reality. As such, we're already planning to include chargers at the Southside Transit Center, allowing us to use BEBs on the longer routes and get equitable service to areas of the community not already served by electric buses. We're excited to report we'll have 3 new BEBs for use on our regular fixed route very soon, and 2 more on schedule for delivery next year. This federal grant will allow Star Metro to address capital needs and specifically allow us to replace up to 8 diesel buses with zero-emission battery electric buses. Lastly, it will also provide funds for the construction of the first phase of the Star Metro Fleet Electrification Infrastructure Plan, which lays the foundation to charge the existing electric buses and expand our charging capability incrementally each year up to the 100% goal in 2035. We thank you for your continued support and assisting our team's effort in applying for these highly competitive grants and for your consideration of this grant application. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Baldwin, I want you to know I sing your praises of your department and all the amazing things that y'all do, and certainly do appreciate it. I have to admit that I stand corrected. Earlier at the budget workshop, I mentioned that our fleet management was top 20 in the nation. Actually, I've been gently corrected that we're actually one of the best in the nation. And, let me go ahead and correct myself on the record to the team that's here. And we appreciate everything that y'all do. Absolutely. Do we have any public comment on this item, Mr. Clerk?
No public comment.
Excellent. Commissioner Porter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. This is certainly exciting. I have a question about the route optimization. I guess I'm wondering, aside from just the obvious benefits of this support, of this grant, how might it or will it give us the ability to change our routes if we want to optimize ridership?
Well, currently we're working with a consultant to gauge feedback and get information on that from our customers. And with that information, we'll take that into consideration, determine which routes and what that would look like for our department.
Okay.
So that hasn't quite been finalized at this point.
Okay, so is that, I guess I'm wondering, is that sort of happening tangentially along with this?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Excellent. Commissioner Richardson?
A related question, Angela, where are we still in the budget, in the legislative process?
Yes, I think that,
point?
City Manager.
Or will that come in the legislative update?
We're going to provide that next.
Yes.
The answer is yes, we are. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right. Any direction?
Second.
Commissioner Matlow has probably moved staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Porter. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously, 5-0. We are on 12.05, the legislative update. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Richardson, perfect segue. This is the last legislative update we'll provide, assuming the legislature ends on time, which is scheduled to end May 5th of this year. And so it's an appropriate time to tell you where we stand. We are optimistic. We will receive some funds in this year's budget. You know, we'll hold our breath and not count that yet, but we're pretty optimistic. But there are a number of other bills and things that I think could impact us, and certainly that we're tracking. And Dr. Whitley will provide the update as we stand today.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mayors, out of chambers, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. I was going to save the good news for the end, Commissioner Richardson, but since you asked, I'll start. We are still currently in the budget for the Southside Transit Center. As you probably are aware, the legislature is in budget conference right now. It started on Monday. So we are one of the pieces being used for negotiation, as is common. And so we're there. We are confident that we will come out of that process with at least some funding. And then the next step is to the governor's desk and to continue to work through that process to try to avoid a veto. And we feel confident. We've got a great project. Obviously, you've heard some about that from Angela just now. And I will also add on the appropriations front, we've let you know, I believe, that we have submitted a community project funding request through Congressman Dunn's office, and we have been selected as one of his top 10 projects that he could put forward for terminal apron rehabilitation at the airport to the tune of $2.7 million. So we've made his top 10 list. Initially, our understanding was that he got to choose 15. That was down to 10, and we made that out of all the requests that the congressman received. So we appreciate his support, and that's going to be going through subcommittee processes up there. So we're still working on that, and we will update you as we know more about that as well. So a couple irons, appropriations irons in the fire currently. As the manager said, we're in the last week and a half of session. It is slated to end next Friday on the 5th. If it ends on time, I will say the indication so far is that it will. The budget conference is going. When the House and Senate started the budget conference on Monday, they were just shy of $700 million apart in the budget, which is a lot of money, but that's a lot less than the $3.3 billion they were apart when they started conference last session. So they're moving rapidly to get that together, and we would expect that they will have a finalized budget that they've agreed on by May 2nd to satisfy the required 72-hour, quote, cooling off period to pass the budget before session ends next Friday. There are a couple bills that I wanted to provide an update on, some that we provided a couple updates on, some that are in the item, and a couple that aren't, because I know there have been topics of conversation. There was a lot in your agenda materials for the budget workshop on the Live Local Act, which has been signed by the governor. And so there was a lot of information in there about policies that we see as beneficial to your affordable housing goals and additional funding from the state, fully funding the Sadowski Fund and some other funding opportunities there. So staff continues to work closely through the bill to fully realize what the benefit will be to us from a funding perspective and from a policy perspective, and anything that we need to bring to you, of course we will, but we see that as only bolstering the moves that y'all have already taken as a commission. We have a couple threats, probably more threats this session than we've seen in recent sessions. The big one that we've talked about has been bills related to municipal utilities. We are, I would say, cautiously optimistic at this point. We know that policy committees are not meeting anymore, but we also know that anything can happen. And it's not just funding, line item funding requests that are used as a negotiation chips during this process. So we're not really going to breathe a sigh of relief until the hanky drops next week. But we also know that while we may survive unscathed on the utility front this session, we expect this to come back. That's the indication that we're getting from across the street. And so we are going to continue to watch that closely, be prepared, work with our local delegation to continue to work while we're out of session to make progress on that front too, to continue to protect what is one of our greatest assets here at the city. Another threat that we've seen is the sovereign immunity bills. We provided some updates on that. We feel pretty good about where that stands at this point in session. Again, this may be one that comes back. It's had got a little bit less traction than the utility bills have, but we do feel fairly good about that. A couple others, I don't want to go too long, but then I know there have been questions about, there's a lot of communities talking about the vacation rentals bill. And what this is doing is enacting additional preemptions on local governments and their ability to regulate short-term rentals. We don't have any local level regulations for short-term rentals here, so we don't see a major impact with us, but we do see an impact for other communities across the state, and that does appears very likely to pass. We've talked, and this I think dovetails with the action that y'all have taken on the septic to sewer and the triangle, on some possibilities there, potential funding opportunities through the Resiliency, Energy, Environment Florida programs and the related House bill that deals with improvements to real property. What these bills do is authorize property owners, both residential and commercial, to apply for certain qualifying improvements, and specifically what they're trying to incentivize for funding for those improvements, and what they're trying to incentivize is retrofitting of resiliency improvements and also converting from septic to sewer. So that, again, is going in a positive direction from our perspective, from staff's perspective, and we see potential funding opportunities possibly for us as local government and also for commercial and residential property owners. So we'll continue to follow that. That's It's still working through the process, but they both also appear likely to pass. And so we'll make sure that we continue to track that closely, particularly any potential amendments that are made between now and when those do appear to pass. And then another one that we've looked at that, again, represents a potential impact on us as a local government is Senate Bill 170 and House Bill 1515 on local ordinances. And these are bills that authorize courts to assess and award what they call reasonable attorney's fees and costs and damages in certain civil actions filed against local governments. And this would be if a plaintiff prevails in arguing that an ordinance is arbitrary or unreasonable. It limits that what they can be awarded to $50,000, and then it also requires cities and counties to prepare a business impact statement for certain proposed ordinances. So we're tracking that. That bill has passed the full Senate, and it looks like it's on track to pass the House as well. So we'll be tracking those and potential impacts to us. And so there's more that we could talk about. There were nearly 1,800 bills filed this session. But as we get to the end, we get a little bit more clarity as to what the impacts are going to look like to us. And hopefully in a week and a half, we can breathe easy, have some funding for the Southside Transit Center, and have at least avoided a couple potential threats. So I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thomas, Dr. Whitley, does it look like session will end on time, or will there be an extended session?
At this point, the indications are that they will end on time. We've not heard anything otherwise. They're moving in that direction. They were kind of slow, kind of behind early in session. They've caught up to some degree, but that also, I think we're seeing the result of that in how few bills have actually been passed by both chambers at this point in session. But we do expect them to end on time, and we've not heard any talk of extending session or any additional special sessions at this point.
Okay, excellent. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Excellent. Colleagues, the recommended action is to accept the legislative update. Comments, questions, direction?
Move acceptance of the update.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table from the Mayor Pro Tem for staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Matlow, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Dr. Willie, you have the hardest job because you got to come tell us all the bad things that are happening across the street. And I think this year's been particularly egregious. I mean, the preemptions on local government, from the utilities to basic ordinances to the ability to make sure housing remains affordable in our communities, all those very basic functions that local governments are meant to serve are being stripped away from our local governments all across Florida. I mean, that's not even to bring into the near abortion ban that passed, or the unlicensed gun permit law that passed. I mean, things are getting really out of control, both in our state, and all of these are going to have real life impacts on our local government, real life impacts on public safety, real life impacts on how many people can afford housing, how many people end up into homelessness. And as the state continues to march down this path where, I mean, they're talking about taking people's utilities away. In Tallahassee, we're proud that we keep our rates low and we're able to deliver services, where in other communities that have private utilities, they don't see any benefit from those profits, and they pay higher bills and they get none of the benefits. So I just think it's important for us as a body, but just us as a community, to really pay attention to what's happening, because it's going to have real impacts on people's lives in Tallahassee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. As the official voice of the city, when needed, I'm available to testify, as I have done during this session. Please keep us posted, and let's keep our fingers crossed for the next week. Seeing no further comment, the motion on the table for the acceptance of the update was made by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas Whitley.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to recognize you for an update on HB1.
Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure, as a part of that update, that you were reminded that, our attorneys, the Public Rights Project attorneys, have been representing us. There are some modifications being recommended in the legislation that will address many of the aspects of the former litigation that impacted the city. One of the most important is that instead of going before the Administration Commission, the governing cabinet, it would go before the Department of Administrative Hearings for an objective review regarding any modification of the city's budget or any local government's budget that was greater than 5%. There are also some factors that are being added, which take away some of the arbitrariness, which was some of the issues that we raised in our litigation. So we are following that very closely. And I think from what we see, it has cleared all the committees and is waiting to be brought to the floor. So it's hopeful that that will be passed.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions of the city attorney? Okay, Mr. Manager, excuse me, do we have any other business to come before the city commission?
No, sir.
Okay, colleagues, we have 2 items on the public hearing at 6 o'clock, but we have moved very rapidly. It's only 4:15. I think we have people that are here that want to speak on unagended items, and I am not going to make them wait till 6 o'clock till after the public hearing. So why don't we go ahead and take who is here that wants to speak now. Of course, after the public hearing, we'll see if people join us at 6 o'clock as advertised. And if we still have time after those individuals that want to speak on unagended items, let's go ahead and have the sharing of ideas and try to knock out as much business as we can before the public hearing. So, Mr. Cook, how many speakers do we have currently with us?
We have 6.
6. Excellent. Okay. Walk us through, please.
All right. As with our earlier portion of our meeting, speakers will have 3 minutes for comments. I'll give you a heads up at 2.5 minutes. The first speaker we have is John Pickett, followed by Tim Adams. If you'll give your name and address for the record, you may begin.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is John Pickett. I reside at 827 Greenleaf Drive. I've been a resident of Tallahassee area for over 20 years. I'm here to address a public post made by Commissioner Jeremy Matlow to Facebook and Twitter on Saturday, April 22nd, 2023, concerning public safety. During the summer of 2020, I was the victim of a violent assault by multiple people while video documenting a street blockage protest in front of the state capitol. During the attack, I was surrounded by multiple people, impeding my forward motion. I was then attacked from behind, knocked to the ground. I had people on my back punching, and at the same time, others were kicking me in my face. It was only at this point that I drew my legally carried firearm, which effectively stopped the attack. So I'm here to inquire, in what fantasy world does the victim of a violent attack 3 years ago become Mr. Matlow's poster child for what's wrong in the city today? His post shows a photo of me in the aftermath of the attack, and the narration he has attached to this post constitutes a misrepresentation of the facts. Due to his implication that I am a dangerous gunman, it potentially places me and my family in danger. It also fails to address the true concerns of the city. Can any commissioner here explain how turning the victim into a villain contributes to public safety?
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Is Tim Adams, followed by Debbie Lightsey. Tim Adams.
Mr. Adams? Mr. Adams? Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you will keep that card, and, at 6 o'clock after public hearing, if Mr. Adams is with us, we'll make sure he has the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then our next speaker is Debbie Lightsey.
Lightsey. Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Debbie Lightsey, 2340 Cypress Cove Drive. As someone who has served in this government for over 20 years and who has continued to be an active citizen advocate, I have some observations to make. The city has many good programs and many committed employees. Many of the things you've talked about this evening, people giving direct services to our citizens. But I have some concerns about the institutional culture here at the city as it centers on City Hall. I sincerely feel this government has lost its way. It has become very insular, top-heavy, with power vested in the executive staff. Some commissioners don't seem to remember that they're supposed to be the voice of the people, not the institution. Staff recommendations are treated like the word from on high. In addition to generally not welcoming public input, this government doesn't seem to encourage internal dissent either. 2 examples: the firing of the HR director and the failure to include the city attorney and the treasurer clerk in reviewing the final PBA contract. The face this government presents to the public is often smug and somewhat self-satisfied. Every staff presentation is greeted with tremendous accolades. From top to bottom, everybody thinks they're doing a great job. And they say so, and many people are. But this ignores some real serious concerns in our community. The annual retreat has become little more than a series of staff presentations and an opportunity for more accolades. Criticism is met with anger or indignation. Requests for information must be funneled through one person who reports directly to the city manager. Phone numbers are not available on the web page, and seldom does a real person answer the phone. Environmental and neighborhood advocates have just about given up in despair. Few recommendations from either group ever appear in a staff recommendation, and initiatives from citizens are slow-walked if taken up at all. PPD seemingly hasn't heard of de-escalation, sending the SWAT team to arrest Black Lives Matter activists and sending 22 officers to arrest 11 peaceful protesters gathered in a public space in front of City Hall. Now there's the suggestion for the property tax to be increased. I think instead analysis of upper management and executive costs versus what is spent on direct service to the public would be a good first step.
You're at about 20 seconds.
We now have 4 assistant city managers, 1 deputy city manager, and 4 other executive level staffers who report directly to the city manager, all with big salaries. Yet we cannot afford a public works department or a full-time housing director. Let's look at our priorities here. Those of us who are going to speak tonight are not anti-government. We are pro-citizen. I served in this government. I love this town and this government. We want our government to hear us and respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Dorothy Inman Johnson. I have 2 speaker cards, but as our policy is, I'll mention that we provide the 3 minutes and ask you to include all of your comments in that time.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Dot Inman Johnson, 2121 Trescott Drive. Mayor, city commissioners, I'm here on 3 issues. The arrest of the protesters in front of City Hall on public property and zero tolerance policy on drugs and the tax increase proposed. First of all, I am appalled that 22 officers arrested 11 choice protesters sitting in a circle on the north side of City Hall who were demonstrating peacefully, and that at least 3 of you supported the city manager's action to allow the chief to do that. How hard would it have been to allow those 11 people to peacefully demonstrate? They were not blocking access to City Hall. It was in the evening. Second, the zero tolerance policy. I was equally appalled that 21 employees of City Hall were fired without even an opportunity to appeal what was happening to them. Yet a police, because they failed the drug test, but 1 police officer who failed the drug test not once but twice was allowed to appeal and is still working for the police department. Third, the tax increase. I was reading in the newspaper that the city is going to propose a tax increase to pay the $60,000 starting salary and other goodies for the police department. I'm not here to argue against the police department and police officers needing fair pay, but the average pay for citizens in this community is $49,000 a year. We have a 24% poverty rate. If we want to deal with crime, we should look at cities that have done it successfully because it all comes from poverty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I want to give my personal thanks to Commissioners Matlow and Porter for standing up for the citizens.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Robert Lee, and then Harry Brown.
Mr. Lee?
And I'll also hold that one till our 6 o'clock time as well.
Mr. Brown?
Brown, Harry Brown.
Okay.
I have had a couple of additional speakers provided to me, Mayor, so next will be Randy Dinker.
Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Randy Dinker, 552 East Georgia Street. I'm here to talk about what Debbie Lightsey and Dot Inman Johnson just discussed about the protesters being arrested. I hope I have my facts straight, but as I understand it, it was because this front of City Hall is considered a public park, and that decision was made not fairly shortly before the arrest. And I'm really concerned about that because this is a public building, and this is where you all do your work, so it's the logical place for people to come to the seat of power and be as visible as possible to all of you. And I would ask you to delist the front of City Hall as being a public park, because I don't think that has any business being the case. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would wake up on a beautiful Saturday morning and say, hey, let's go for a picnic in the park. How about we go to City Hall and have a picnic and little Billy can learn to ride a bike there? I just think we all can recognize that that's kind of not where people would go to recreate. So let's leave City Hall, the front of City Hall, as a place where people can freely exercise their First Amendment rights if they're doing so peacefully and in a way that is, not in any way endangering the public safety and welfare. So that would be my ask, and thank you for your time and attention.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Whitfield Leland, followed by Cheryl Collier Brown.
Leland, good to see you. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Whitfield Leland, 754 West 7th Avenue. I wasn't going to say nothing, but I have to be honest with the commission and the people of my community, because that's who I serve. I hear a lot of comments about TPD, but I wish we'd have been in the spot where we at now a little bit sooner. I came today to give them their kudos as far as being on the streets, on the ground, dealing with even some of the officers that we've had problems with in the past. It's been kind of refreshing. I have more of a talking relationship with Chief Holmes, so I talk to him a lot. But even with some of the activities or crimes that's being committed in the community, it's actually being given in a way that it's not a snitching type situation. So it's like people are starting to really look out for the safety. And I think that's a reflection of how the officers are dealing with certain situations on the streets. Now, the high-end crimes, like the murders and all that, that's on a whole nother level. Like, that's like zero tolerance for the people on the streets. I also think I'm a strong believer in freedom of speech, protesting, and I thank the great Martin Luther King for the example that he set for us. But I want all us to keep in mind that when Martin Luther King put his shoes on to march, he came back with results. So, and it wasn't never a situation where he went after, and all instead of that, he never actually went after the police in itself because he knew that they had a job to do. It was always Congress. So my thing is, like, I don't want us to get caught up in all the stuff that don't pertain to our local government. Everything that happens over at that Capitol, like, it really, like, does us no good if we on the local level not handling our business on the local level. So I'd rather us focus on the local level, protesting. We done been here before. It may need to be a deeper conversation, but I think we passed that. And I just want to say to Chief Revel, Holmes, Smith, and I forgot the other name, but y'all doing a good job, man. I hope that we can continue to build the relationships we build in the community and be able to build a trust with the residents that we need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Cheryl Collier Brown, and then Harry Brown.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Cheryl Collier Brown, 217 West Brevard Street. Well, Whitfield pretty much said what I was going to say pertaining to the police. As being a pro-choice supporter, I watched it, and before it even came, I said, well, why they didn't go across the street? As Whitfield said, that was not a city matter. I vehemently believe that. If I was going to protest, I would go where I should go to protest, and the city hall was not the place. And secondly, everybody knows that I am a vehement supporter of the Tallahassee Police Department because I have never had a problem with them. They conduct themselves in a very mannerable, considerate, nice way. And secondly, for us, the poverty part of it, me being an educator, and some of us in here, we need to start in the classroom and at home to make sure the children are getting what they need there so they can understand that education and being obedient will help them get out of poverty. You know, we all have to work hard for something, so you need to go to school, get your lesson, and get a job, and you won't be in poverty. And it's jobs. And another thing that I'm going, as far as the pay, was a teacher for years, had to work toward getting higher income. Now, the police has a very serious, dangerous job. They don't know what's going to happen to them, just like a school teacher when she go in that classroom. I would have loved to maybe, I think I did reach the $60,000 thing before I retired. But we all have jobs, and there's a lot of us would like to have a raise, but we don't get it. But that's not to beat down those who getting it that really need it. They need the pay. So if I just wanted to stand up here and say these things. I support the police and I support the city commission, and I want all of us to work together as Whitfield has just said. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Harry Brown. And at this time, that's the last speaker form that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Could you please state your name and your address for the record?
Harry Brown, and I reside at 5431 Crump Road, Tallahassee. Reese Gold, you were flubbed again when you reached out and put your friend in Miss Blair's place, Rob McGarry. You first botched the hiring of the chief of police, Lawrence Revel, with your own misplaced authority. Next, you wrongly fired the HR director, Ms. Blair, while the ethics committee stood by. 2 black commissioners are sitting here bragging and glorifying you about the outstanding job that you and Daley are doing. This is a horrendous disgrace. They are collaborating with the monumental wrong that you are doing. While you are operating a disparaging and shambolic government, you have two supporters and the mayor. You have simply taken the power from the people as you are trying to run an autocratic government run by one individual with all the power alone. When my pastor and I were seeking relief from Anita Favor's brutal, detrimental abuse, Commissioner John Paul Bailey said that he wished he could help me, but he could not because of the city charter. The charter would not allow him to help me. You, Daley, and two commissioners are operating by the city charter. The charter was written on December 9th, 1825, and it hasn't been changed since. How are you in 2023 operating from a document that was written in 1825? Shame on you. Cox and Curtis, go find a good Bible-based church and keep God first. He will take you places that you never imagined. Learn his word, and you will speak like him. You will act like him. You will love like him. You will treat others like he would treat them. I implore the community to look for a legal guru who can help us take our city back.
You're at 30 seconds.
It is truly disturbing to be operating from a document that was a policy that was written over 202 years ago. Cox, I can see you still standing with your pastor in the evening news, hugging Revel, showing corroboration with the placement of Revel, while you knew it was wrong. We don't want that kind of service.
You're at 3 minutes.
Ms. Porter, Mr. Matlow, we thank you for the service that you are doing.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Are there any other speakers?
I have no other speakers at this time. We had a few that were not here when called. We'll take them at the 6 o'clock hour.
Colleagues, let me apologize. I've had to excuse myself twice. I've been dealing with a family middle school transportation issue. I'm sure everyone has been there at some point. Mr. Brown, I am sorry I had to excuse myself during your testimony, but I did catch the majority of it while I was standing over here. And when we break, I'll be more than happy to talk to you as well, okay? Thank you. I owe you a phone call. Okay. Do we have any other public comment at this time?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, colleagues, what we'll do is after the public hearing, once again, because we advertised the public hearing unagended speakers, we'll see if we pick up anyone else at 6 o'clock that would like to speak as well. It's 4:35. I say we just move forward with the sharing of ideas and try to take care of as much business as we can. We'll still have time to take a break and come back for the public hearing. Are we agreeable, or do y'all want to postpone and wait?
Let's do it.
Good.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, start with you, and we'll work our way down.
Happy Earth Day. At the last commission meeting, I said that me and my staff would voluntarily do drug testing. Let me report that we did. And of course, we were clear and clean.
Good.
So I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing my part to make sure that we have a drug-free work environment.
Excellent.
So that's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Several things just to make you all aware of. As you know, tomorrow is the Big Bend Fair Housing Conference that will be held at the AC Marriott from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I would encourage everyone who is interested in affordable housing in our community to be there for that. It should be informative, and I think we'll get a lot out of it. Tomorrow also is Children at Work, where city employees will be allowed to bring their children to work and give them an indication of what they do to earn those big whopping salaries that they earn here at the City of Tallahassee, but also to learn about their government and the functions of City Hall and the services that are provided. Friday is the Leon Works Expo at the Civic Center. As you all know, the county has initiated the Leon Works Expo to introduce our high school students primarily to job and training opportunities in the community. So when they graduate or prior to graduation can begin to formulate what they want to do with the rest of their lives. As I worked as the community relations coordinator for Lively Technical College, I realized that a lot of seniors, even at this point in their lives, have no clue as to what they're going to do with graduation just a month away. And so the expo is a tremendous opportunity for them to be educated about the opportunities, both employment and training opportunities that are out there for them. And I think, oh, and lastly, Mr. Mayor, I am honored, as well as several others from our community, this will be my second time, to escort our military veterans to Washington, D.C. as a part of the honor flight, where we take veterans primarily, I think there may be one or two from the Korean War. Most of these are from the veterans of the Vietnam War. And we all know how they were treated during that time. If you don't, it was a sad state of affairs in this country during that time, how those veterans, those military personnel were treated when they came home from that war. So we're taking them to Washington, D.C. I'm serving as a guardian, again, along with others, to visit some of the monuments in Washington, D.C. that they haven't had an opportunity to visit and to see and show them how much we appreciate the service that they have provided to this great nation and giving us the opportunity to do what we do here in government and in our community and state and nation. And so I'm looking forward to that on Saturday.
Excellent.
That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great.
Thank
Commissioner
you all for
Matler.
your indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess first to address a couple public comments. Frankly, I think the stand your ground law has been so perverted in the state of Florida that we allow people to get away with things that they shouldn't. And I think our community will become even more dangerous as unlicensed concealed carry is now legal in the state of Florida. And in regards to the incident at the state capitol, I did have an opportunity to review the videos and hear from individuals who were ordered to their knees at gunpoint who weren't involved in any altercation at all. To me, that is wrong and unacceptable and shouldn't be allowed in the city of Tallahassee. On the second issue, I really just wanted some clarification on the abortion rights protest, because everybody's confused. Is City Hall a park? Mr. City
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to give an overview or do you want me to answer questions? I mean, I'm happy to.
Would you
I just have some questions.
Yeah, questions.
Just questions. No, City Hall is not a park.
Okay. And the protest that was taking place, it was wholly on city property, or is it on the sidewalk or in the street?
Well, it was a combination thereof. There's areas that's the right-of-way. Where the protesters were arrested was on the city plaza.
Okay. The follow-up question would be, City Hall's not a park. I know signage went up saying park rules just before the protest. Was that to say that City Hall was a park, or?
No, sir.
Okay. My third question is just, why was this City Hall, city property, public property, sidewalks, the public plaza in front of City Hall are widely the public square? I mean, this is the quintessential place that people have the right to come and redress grievances with their government. It doesn't matter if it's at the state or the city or Leon County, where I know they actually got a permit to stay overnight, had 0 incidents after their arrests in Tallahassee. So I'm trying to figure out how we got to a point where we're arresting 11 people sitting in a circle singing Kumbaya in front of City Hall. If it's not a park, partially on the sidewalk, protesters who were in the street were not subject to arrest. They were able to spectate from the street. So it just seems all kinds of backwards of what happened. I'm trying to get clarity of how we're framing the square in front of City Hall. So we should probably need a policy of how you can protest and what you can do in front of City Hall. The City Hall Plaza is 100% City Hall property. It's not a park. It's not right-of-way sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay. And what rules do we operate? How do we determine who's allowed and at what time? Because a lot of times we'll have city commission meetings that'll get out at 10 p.m. People will go and be in that plaza area. What's the difference between what was happening at that protest and that, and how will we address that going forward?
Sure. Mr. Manager, provide the overview.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And if I can answer that question with an overview, and I've shared this with others, the group that wished to protest, there was an extensive amount of communication with the group as much as a week leading up, could have been more than a week, but many days leading up to their desired time here in Tallahassee. In fact, the protesters largely were not from Tallahassee, and they were contacting our Parks and Recreation Department, hoping to get a permit to be on the Inman Johnson Park that's directly behind City Hall. In their permit, they wanted to stay consecutively in camp overnight. Well, that's not allowable use in the parks. And so there was a lot of dialogue back and forth, and they were really interested in camping, but indicated that they would be here to protest. They indicated their numbers, I think, were 50 to 70 people were the original conversations. And again, there were a lot of conversations many days leading up to this. And they never asked at that moment to use the plaza in front of City Hall. They were thinking they wanted to use the park because they wanted to camp. When staff told them that's not allowable use, you can't camp there, but there's a space in front of City Hall that you can use to protest, but you can't camp there either, but people can be there as long as the crowd is not so large as to spill into the streets. And so there was a lot of back and forth as it related to that. And honestly, I can't even recall all the details of that, but it was a lot of back and forth. And the group ultimately ended up protesting there the week before. That was on a Thursday. That following weekend, Springtime Tallahassee was occurring and had Adams Street blocked, and they protested for the day. At the end of the day, they left, and they wanted to return on Monday. There was an agreement with Parks and Recreation staff that they could use the park area, Inman Johnson Park by Clayman Plaza, and they agreed. And they said, okay, there would be a permit and they could use it, but you can't camp. And that was always very, very, very clear. There was no ambiguity to that. Somewhere around that time, it was very clear because they were posting on Facebook that there was either miscommunication between their group, certainly was not with us because we were clearly communicating the allowed use every time, including the plaza area because it had been introduced as an option. And that's when Parks and Recreation staff, which does the maintenance for City Hall Plaza as well as all the surrounding parks in our area, placed a sign that listed the very same rules that were articulated to the group that, things that you couldn't do at closed at dark and you couldn't camp and these kind of activities. Because we weren't certain how they were communicating. If the people we were communicating with were in fact communicating with others in the group that may come. So it was the best attempt to communicate that and make it very clear. And so that was the use of the sign. There was an exact sign that was also added at Clayman Plaza. So moving forward, the group came. Even though they were told their use wouldn't be compatible for even the plaza, because at that point there were statewide broadcasts of the protest, and it wasn't believed by staff, including myself, that the plaza could accommodate those numbers. If the numbers are too great, it spills into the street, you can't be in that plaza because that would impede traffic and pedestrians. They showed up. The group was relatively small. They were allowed to protest throughout that day. But even at first thing that morning, the downtown police officer engaged with them and said, you got to stay in this area. You can't spill into traffic. And of course, you can't stay at night. You can't camp. You can't stay overnight and camp. At that time, and really preceding that, members of the group were very clear that they intended to do it and indicated that they would be arrested if that's what needed to happen. So as the day progressed, they protested. There was a lot of communication. Somewhere around 4:30 that afternoon, it had rained. There were barricades that were demarking the area that they could be and not be, which was adequate right-of-way. And that's why there were many protesters that were outside of this area, many of which gathered into a circle. I apologize, Mayor. I just believe we've got to provide full context because I think there's a lot of confusion. In TPD, obviously would be the law enforcement agency that would have to trespass if it came to that. That trespass would be in my direction as the city manager and the responsible party for City Hall and the plaza in front of City Hall. At that point, there was no one inside the barricaded area. There was just it wasn't fenced, but it was clearly marked. That's when a group came inside. PPD, wanting to communicate very clearly, provided no less than 8 interactions saying, hey, you know, at dark, this area will be closed and you can't be here, you'll be trespassing. And they continued to do that up until about 8 o'clock that night. Nightfall was somewhere around 7:30. At which time there was a final warning with an opportunity to leave, and anybody that watched the video noticed one person did get up and left, but others remained, and that's at that point that was considered trespass after warning, and they were arrested. So that's the full context of how the plaza is considered related to the park, the allowable use, and the communication that occurred.
Commissioner Matlow.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. It would appear to me that the 8 p.m. you must leave the property was arbitrary and targeted at this protest, as it's not a standing policy for the City Commission Plaza. And having watched the video, I guess I understand where you're saying you had concern. 100 people want to come and camp out. But we also have to live in reality. And in reality, I don't believe anybody believes that Senator Lauren Book was there to camp out for the evening. I don't believe the majority of the people who got arrested were probably there to camp out. I didn't see tents being pitched. It was 8 p.m. So I just think at some point we have to recognize what's happening, use a little de-escalation, and not send twice as many law enforcement officers out to arrest 11 people in a circle exercising their constitutional right. And I hear from people in the department that don't want to be doing that work either. They feel like management is making them do things that then make them viewed publicly in a bad light. We shouldn't be using our police department in that fashion. I appreciate you answering the questions, and I hope we'd all consider developing a standardized policy of when the area outside of City Hall is open, what hours, and how we will operate it and protect people's constitutional right to speak up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I just comment?
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Matlow, I appreciate your comments. It was very clear their intention to camp as the group was organized and they had dropped off their camping supplies that was observed by police. And then the following week, they asked for the same activity with the county and they proceeded to camp there. That was a very clear intention. We never argued with their intention. Even the week preceding up to it, we just clearly indicated that wasn't allowed use. And that's longstanding practice of the City Hall Plaza. So the plaza's been used many times before for protests. The city doesn't issue permits for that. The county chose to issue a permit. That plaza area is not permitted as to not get involved in the determining whether the issue is something we're sanctioning or not sanctioning. But the rules have been clearly practiced. I agree we need a policy to be crystal clear. In that policy, I would expect would be exactly what we followed for many, many, many years and clearly articulated to the group what the allowed use was. And that was our very best effort to do that. We communicated verbally and then we put a sign up and we did everything in our power to make sure that they could be there within the historically allowed use and what was shared. And so the intent to camp was, I believe, central to their protest. We know they did camp at the county for a week, and we know they delivered camping supplies just in advance of nightfall when they were arrested. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Matlow, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think as we develop that policy, we have to be cognizant of the fact that events in our community, events in our city, events in our country can happen at any time of day. If something extraordinary happened at 9 p.m. and people felt the need to demonstrate publicly, we have to provide for that. We can't say bedtime's 8 p.m. for everybody. We have a well-lit public square that can handle that, because we don't want to say, it should be every public street or every I mean, at the very least, we should protect, what's in front of our state capitol. I know we don't have control over that. What's in front of City Hall. And I give, tremendous kudos and respect to the county administrator and Leon County for recognizing this. And I mean, my opinions on the issue aside, it doesn't really matter what the issue is. It's a constitutional right, and we shouldn't be going down any line we're arresting protesters that aren't interfering with anybody. The next day, the entire City Hall Plaza was barricaded, so the existing sidewalks were not in use. We had dozens, if not hundreds of people walking in the roadway. It wasn't ADA compliant, being put in more danger, having to walk where there's actually active traffic because we're responding to a perceived threat that was not real. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question. I'm not sure if anyone, do we have an update yet on, I know I've asked several times, just the bicentennial celebration? Have we heard anything back? I know that some of us sit on those boards. I'm just wondering if there's a plan. I get questions a lot about it. I'm just curious if we've got an update.
So, Commissioner Porter, that's a great question. With your indulgence, I think we should extend an official invitation to Carrie Post at Visit Tallahassee to come to the next City Commission meeting to do a presentation, since they are the driving organization. Okay. And I think that's a great idea. So nobody minds, Mr. Manager, will you please reach out to Carrie Post?
Yes, sir.
And ask her and let's put her on the agenda for a presentation.
Okay. Great, thank you. And one of the reasons I thought about bringing that up too is I had the opportunity to work with a group who services Lighthouse of the Big Bend, who works with people who have visual disabilities. And they have a summer camp this summer, and they asked if they could come and get a tour of City Hall, and the city managers have been graciously working something out for them. And it made me think, just that it would be so cool for us to take this opportunity with the bicentennial, just how many cool things there are. I mean, I was reading in the paper the other day about the TPD officer who developed a coloring book. There's just so much cool things that we can do for that. So I definitely don't want to miss out on that opportunity. I had a question also about, we've heard from residents about the English Forest and the Florida Forever application. I got an updated email from Mr. Epstein about that the city has agreed in some form or another to participate in that application. Mr. City Manager, could you give us an update on that?
Mr. Manager, what's the status?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, you guys have given us the direction and authority to do that. And the request is for us to, if successful by a group of citizens, to get land acquired through the Forever Florida grant at the state level, to be being charged, be the custodian of that, manage that. And the issue we've been working on and that has been settled, as far as I understand it, is exactly where that land would be, so that it would not impede the development that's planned. So that many staff members across many different departments have been involved, and as I understand it, that area. John, maybe you can tell us more about the land. I know the general, but I believe we're 20 or so acres have been identified as
right. And if I may, I mean, just what I'm getting at is they're very grateful that we've signed on. They're a little concerned that we've adjusted the boundaries such that they're worried that it won't be a successful application. And so that was their specific concern, was whether we can get closer to the original boundaries that they wanted preserved. If you could speak to that.
Sure, understood. And where we came out of meeting with them and the representatives from the Florida Forever program was that we would have the opportunity to evaluate it and see where we anticipated infrastructure needs, roadway connections, stormwater, things like that. What we did was evaluate to see areas that make sense to prioritize as that open space corridor that the group's wanting to achieve, and we recognize as a valuable application. And so that's what we have done, and in coordination with FDEP is knowing that and confirming that we can do that in broken segments, because we have areas that will be designated as open space within the PD itself, areas that will be set aside already as preservation features, which the majority of the acreage in the application includes areas that our own local regulations would be required to set aside. And so the other side of that is that in further conversations with Florida Forever is that beyond this application submittal, we'll have the opportunity to do further negotiation. And honestly, the major player here is the property owner and the English family and what they're willing to negotiate on that. So that's who we've also spoken with as well about what makes sense to them to include there. So I would say what we have brought forward is what we acknowledge as making sense and also allowing for the needed infrastructure in that area. But also we have the door open for further conversations to adjust those boundaries.
Okay, thank you. I think where I stand is the most we can preserve, the better. And if that's something that we can negotiate in the future, that certainly would be my desire. And if there's anything that the city can do or that any of us personally can do in having conversations with the property owners, please let us know, because I know how important that is and how long these folks have been working on it. And so if there's anything at all that we can do to help that move along, just please let me know. I did want to bring up what was discussed with the noise ordinance. We've done this in the past. I'm glad that we've kind of reached this place. I did want to ask if we would, or I did want to make a motion, if needed, that we have a 6-month review update on that to see if that's having the intended effect that we're hoping that it will. So I make a motion that we do bring that back just for a 6-month review, not to review the ordinance, but just an update on the progress we're making.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Porter for a 6-month review upon final passage of the noise ordinance for an update on the effectiveness of that ordinance. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? Great idea. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you. And my last item is just, I kind of want feedback, and I'm going to request an informational item if necessary. All of our offices get a lot of emails. We know about the housing crisis and the difficulties people are facing. I spoke earlier today about one case in particular where my office has been working with staff and providers for over a month to get some support. I've seen other cities, they have things like a helpline where people can call. It can be specifically about housing. It can be about other things. I know we have 211 of the Big Bend. Even if it's just on our website, we've got a lot of great information under neighborhood services and landlord and tenant resources. A lot of it, though, is frankly, it's kind of hard to read. There's a lot of information about programs, and for people who are really in a moment of crisis, don't know what their rights are, I know that these are things that you can Google, but they're not as easy as it seems like it would be to find. And so I'd like to make a motion that we bring back an item exploring what other cities do or what we're doing regarding just those people who are in acute distress with housing. So whether it's a helpline, whether it's more information on the website, or a combination of both, that might be helpful, because it's right now everyone is scrambling and the services are unfortunately disjointed and underfunded. And so anything that we can do, even just to, for example, I think legal services, they can't even solicit their own clients. You know, their clients have to go to them for them to be helped. So just anything we can do. So I know I rambled a little bit, but the motion just being if we could have an informational item come back about whether it's a helpline or what we can do to promote available resources specifically towards renter protections.
Let me help you out.
Sure, thank you.
How about a motion for best practices in
Sure.
the realm of affordable housing with all tools available that other municipalities have successfully implemented?
That is fine with me. My only thing is I just really want renter protections.
Renter protection, excuse me,
Yeah,
renter protection.
to be the focus, because we've got a lot of good tools online already for homeowners and not a lot for renters.
Yeah, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to your motion, if you don't mind. I would actually like to have an agenda item be brought back for a budget amendment for, I would like to place a dollar amount for $200,000 to be considered to be put into rental assistance in this community. Commissioner Porter, as you are aware, all of our partnerships are bone dry with rental assistance. Our programs are bone dry of rental assistance because of the need in this community. We have all had conversations with legal aid and all of those organizations, and we have to have serious consideration. It's only April, and we have got to make it through the end of September. So I would love for staff to, if this is okay with you, Commissioner, I would love to actually have an agenda item to see if it is appropriate to do a budget amendment specifically for rental assistance in this community out of our general revenue budget for discussion.
Sure, no, I'd happy to have that. Accept that amendment. I'm curious, when you say the amount, is that, and I assume this is some of what we'll be discussing, did you have in mind?
It's arbitrary. I'm just pulling it.
Well, sure, and I guess what I mean is, kind of what I'm getting at is, I would really love to see or hear if we have someone who is sort of devoted to this kind of social work effort, because so much of this work that I experience in my office is just connecting people to the right resources.
Right.
And that's a lot of, it's more work than I ever thought it would be.
Sure.
So if that can be incorporated in that item,
Absolutely.
That would be great.
So, and you're absolutely right. It's kind of an arbitrary number that I've kind of come up with in my discussions with the service providers. What would it take this community to get us through the end of September, the fiscal year? And they're telling us, based on what they have seen and what they anticipate coming, this is legal aid, this is North Florida, this is all of our housing providers, our programs here at the City of Tallahassee. Again, we are bone dry. When somebody calls and needs rental assistance, there is not a penny in this community that I am aware of for assistance. So I would love to have that conversation, but you are absolutely correct. 200,000 is an arbitrary number. In fact, I would leave it to staff to make, a hearty recommendation if we can. I think you understand the nature of substitute. So I will second your motion, and
Thank you.
And I look forward to that discussion. Commissioner Richardson, you had
Yeah, and I guess I'm confused of where we're going here, because it sounds like you all are talking about two different issues. Mr. Porter, it sounded like you were talking about making sure that people had a central location that they could go to for resources if they needed temporary housing, if they needed medical assistance. And then you brought into that the issue of 200,000, an arbitrary figure, when we're already talking about a budget deficit and balancing our budget for the next fiscal year. I mean, and even, Commissioner Porter, I see where you're going with that. What I'd like for us to do is to research if that is already occurring in our community. I don't know. If 411 isn't getting it, is there another option for that to happen without the city? Because if we have to assume that, is there going to be a fiscal impact from that? I don't know. We're kind of doing this on the fly. And I don't want to commit $200,000 right now without knowing if, I mean,
I hear you,
I know that there is a need, but I certainly would want staff to go back and take a look at what the need is and what reasonably the city can provide. Because this is not just a city issue.
I understand.
So that's my concern.
So here, if I can, because I do not want to tank Commissioner Porter's good motion, which I actually do support, in regards to rental assistance protection in best practices across the state and across the nation that we could bring to Tallahassee. However, as we're talking about rental assistance, I do know that one of the greatest needs in rental assistance is financial assistance. And when we talk to our providers and all of our housing providers, and I know that Assistant City Manager Ojitayo will agree as well, there is desperate need in this community for rental assistance. So let me pull back a dollar amount. I don't want to tank it. And by the way, I understand and I agree with your argument in regards to the future budget year. I'm talking about seeing if we could work within the means of the current budget year, specifically for rental assistance. The answer could very well be there is nothing there. But I think for the purposes of just bringing an agenda item back, not only with the best practices, and Commissioner Porter, you know I'm a huge fan of National League of Cities, Florida League of Cities. I think there's some tremendous resources that we can pull from, that staff can pull from, so I think it's a great topic. Again, I don't want to tank her motion, but I would like part of that discussion and maybe a recommendation be geared towards rental assistance. Does that make sense?
But should that not be a budget discussion?
It is a budget discussion. It would be proposed as a budget amendment, and I'm going to ask the manager to jump in as well. And it is, look, yes, you're absolutely correct.
I mean, I think what it sounds like what Commissioner Porter is asking for is a resource for those who are seeking assistance.
Correct.
Why don't y'all let her jump in and say?
Yeah, Commissioner Porter.
I'll ask for as much as you'll give me. I mean, I started with a helpline or something. I do want to reiterate, I think we understand each other.
Right.
That I want to see what we can do. And the problem that we led to is, so once you let people know where the resources are, right now, unfortunately, there's nothing there.
Correct.
So, I'm open to, if it's two motions, whatever it is, seeing if there is a way, if we have some, available funds, because that certainly is a need that I think we're all experiencing. So whatever it ends up looking like, I'll support it.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to decouple it because I don't want to
Okay.
tank your motion. We're going to take up your motion, and then under my time, I'll bring another idea back. How about that? But I'm glad we had the opportunity to have this discussion, and I do think rental assistance is of tremendous need in this community. Okay, and I'll still second your motion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I wanted to remind us that there are other agencies, and so when we're going to the central line, think about being continual care and others that are in this line of work. So when we provide a central location, we want to make sure we provide their contact information as well. And also as we're in the county's information as well. Because as Commissioner Richardson said, this is not just a City of Tallahassee issue. We want to bring everybody to the table who can possibly help and have people call. Because when I get those calls, I send them to Dr. Thomas and Mrs. Ojentayo. And I don't hear back from them. So that means that somebody did something. So that's kind of that's my central contact. But I agree with what you're saying. We need to have a place where people can go, because when you need help, you need help. And, you just need to know where to find it. But when we start talking about, I had the same concern with Commissioner Richardson about where would the money come from, because we just, having budget talks today about what's going on. And I would hope that if there is any money left over at the end of this budget year, that we would carry it forward to reduce the, what's going to happen in the next budget year, so we can kind of reduce that a little bit. But anyway, I agree. We do need a central location. I can support this. And when we talk about money, we want to make sure that we allow staff to go find it and come back and tell us once they call 811 and dig that money up. And let's do it.
811, I just got that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, it's a great motion. I'm going to support it as well. Motion's been made by Commissioner Porter, seconded by myself. Information item of best practices in regards to rental assistance and central location. All those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously, 5-0. Commissioner Porter, you have the floor.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, so let me redo this. This is what I'm going to ask right now. I would love for us to bring back an agenda item with a complete analysis of where we are with rental assistance in our community right now. And I think that that is going to open up the conversation of what has been done, what needs to be done, and how do we move forward through the end of the fiscal year. Is that fair? So not a dollar amount associated with it, although you know my intentions, specifically with rental assistance. But I think we need an agenda item to come back that paints a picture of what's going on in our community, specifically with rental assistance. That's my motion.
Second that.
I'm going to give second Commissioner Porter. There we go. Any further discussion?
Now, I guess the only other question that I have is that is the county broke in this respect?
Yes, yes, sir.
So everybody's broke.
Rental
Nobody can find 200,000 like we can. That's my whole point.
Well, and it's an aspirational goal. I'm not even saying that we have it, but I do know that everybody has been under tremendous financial pressure, specifically for rental assistance in this community. Commissioner Matlow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion. I just want to say I understand how we got here, right? We hear from people. Some people we hear from, they just have already been to everybody. They've exhausted their options, or there's no money left. Other people we hear from just don't know. You know, they pick up, they look up their city leadership, they'll ask the person I should call. And so there's a lot of resources we are able to connect them with, which I think is the point of trying to have that central location. But we also, hear from people and don't have rental assistance to direct them to as well. So however we can navigate that, if we can bring the county on board to provide funding as well, I think that'd be fantastic. But I support the motion. Thank you.
Excellent. And oh, by the way, let me be very clear. I've had the opportunity to visit with Alan Williams, who is working with HUD from our community, and I have this on his radar as well, of how we can continue to bring down federal dollars specifically, not only for all of our housing programs, but for rental assistance as well. And hopefully that will be fruitful. Motion on the table I made, seconded by Commissioner Porter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Finally, I want to say thank you to everybody and our community partners. We have had a wonderful spring between Springtime Tallahassee, the Arts Festival, the Jazz Festival, Word of South. I mean, it's just been, this is a great time of year to be in Tallahassee with the university activities, and I hope everybody else has had as much fun as well. On point?
Point of information.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to make sure that those who are listening would know, make sure they have the correct information. Our charter has been updated in 1982, 1996, and 2016. We're not operating on a charter from 1825.
Oh, hold on.
Just want to make sure.
It's not on point. I'll come back to you in just
I said point of information. You got it, so I jumped in.
Anyway, it's been a beautiful time in Tallahassee, and I hope everybody's had a chance to really enjoy themselves. On point, though, let's also be very clear. Not all parts of the charter have been updated since the original language, quite honestly. And in fact, there was an issue that was brought to our attention that I have been trying to research legislative intent on the last time it was updated. And the last I could find was 1982, but I think it still has the original language. So this is another conversation for another day. You know my feelings on the Charter Review Commission. These are the big issues of governance of the city of Tallahassee moving forward. And I think that what we're going to find as we continue to look at the charter is, while some aspects of the charter have been updated more recently, there are still parts of the charter that have not and probably do not reflect modern-day 21st century governance.
And I don't disagree with you. I'm just stating point of fact that it has been touched in some way.
Sure.
Since 1825.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Commissioner Porter's mother, you are welcome at every single meeting. We have broken a record. Every vote that was taken tonight was passed unanimously by the City Commission from beginning to the end. Welcome back to Tallahassee. It's good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand adjourned. We'll be back at 6 o'clock for the public hearing. Call to order the public hearing. It is 6:02 on Wednesday, April 26. We have two items that are before the City Commission at public hearing this evening, and then we will hear from unagended speakers afterwards. We're on number 14.01. Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 14.01 is continuance of first and only public hearing on ordinance number 23-Z-01, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending the Capitol Circle Office Complex Plan Unit Development on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, located on approximately 341 acres along Capitol Circle Southeast between Blairstone Road and Tram Road on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended option is option 1, to take public comment on any speakers who are present, and then to continue the public hearing of ordinance number 23-Z-01 to August 23, 2023, City Commission meeting at 6:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall. Any ex parte disclosures concerning this item are available via the hyperlink included in the agenda item as published in the board docs system.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not, Mayor.
All right, colleagues.
Move staff recommendation, option number 1.
Option 1 has been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously 5-0. Item number 14.02, Madam Attorney.
Item number 14.02 is the transmittal hearing on the 2023 cycle comprehensive plan text amendment. Recommended action is option 1, conduct the transmittal public hearing on the 2023 cycle comprehensive plan text amendment TTA 2023-009 Southside Action Plan, and transmit the proposed text amendment to the State Land Planning Agency and review agencies. Planning staff is available for any questions on this item.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this item, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, colleagues.
Move staff recommendation.
It's been properly moved by the Mayor Pro Tem. I will second the motion. Any further comment? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously. Do we have any other items come before us at the public hearing?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we are on unagended speakers to speak before the City Commission. Mr. Clerk, how many speakers do we have?
We have 10 speakers and possibly 1 remote.
Okay, sounds great. I want to use a little bit of personal privilege and invite our dear friends here to speak on the butterfly garden to come first. So if you will begin and walk us through the process.
Okay. Mayor, for all of our unagended items, when we have people who wish to speak to the City Commission, they can come to the podium right here where there's a microphone and provide your remarks. Each speaker has 3 minutes. And Mayor, our first 2 speakers don't require second names. They go by one name, like all the stars that we know.
Like Beyonce, Madonna, Sting.
So first we will hear from Milani, and then we will hear from Emily.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay, ladies, as we discussed, and you can come up together if you would like, just come stand at the podium.
Oh.
And tell us your name and where you go to school.
My name is Milani Dennis, and this here is my friend Emily Clemens. And we go to the Magnolia School.
All right.
Well, welcome to the City Commission chambers. You can begin your remarks when you're ready.
Butterfly gardens are also beneficial to a community's mental health.
Precious.
Research from Denmark found that making a butterfly garden a focus in urban planning can be an early intervention tool for reducing mental health problems. This would benefit those in the community, but also those working to better the community. Police work is a very stressful job. Well, at least I believe so. Walking itself can reduce stress, but imagine having a beautiful garden to walk through with butterflies flying by doing their important work. In conclusion, a butterfly garden would increase pollinator diversity improve air quality, and create a calming space where community members can foster relationships with those who protect them. Respectfully, ooh. I'll do that at the end.
Okay?
All right.
Good job. Wonderful job.
We are here to ask to have a butterfly garden to be included in the plans for the Northwood parcel. We need pollinators, and there are fewer every year. Pollination is the process of moving pollen from one flower to another. This leads to the creation of seeds and fruit and plant variety. Pesticides and habitat loss have played a role in species decline. Scientists warn that fewer pollinators put food crops at risk and affect environmental health. Environmental health. This butterfly garden can help Tallahassee do our part to conserve and protect our resources. Paved roads and parking lots and buildings absorb and retain heat during the day, then radiate that heat into the surrounding air. This can create heat islands. Heat islands can increase temperatures 5 or more degrees. Butterfly gardens can help this problem by taking carbon dioxide out from the air and giving shade. Respectfully, Milani Dennis and Emily Clemens and the Magnolia School.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful job. Okay, don't go anywhere yet. We've just begun the process. So now we're at the point where sometimes myself or my colleagues might have questions. And I've got a question for any one of the students. And that is, how did you come up with the idea for a butterfly garden at the Northwood parcel that we'll be developing? I am very curious to know where the idea came from. Sure.
It was all my idea.
I'm sorry, I'm not one of the speakers, but
No, that's great.
Sorry,
That's great.
but we had the idea from our wonderful teacher, Miss Stacy, to have different to have a butterfly garden in the Northwood parcel, because our theme for the explorations right now, which is basically like science and social studies, but not, it is like it's helping to basically save the earth as a theme, and so we have this to help with the pollution and a few other things that, as you said, and also mental health. Help with mental health. I'm so sorry I'm not put together. I don't have a sheet of paper.
You're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing great.
You're doing great. Colleagues, commissioners, any questions for the students? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you all for being here. I heard some terms that I've never heard before. I'm going to hang on to them. Diverse pollination. Tell me what that is.
Teacher.
That's okay.
That's okay.
We talked about a lot about ecology
Can y'all speak into the microphone? I can't hear you in the sound.
It's okay. I know you're really nervous. All right.
You're doing great.
You're doing a wonderful job.
All right, go ahead. Tell them about pollinators. What do you remember about pollinators?
Go ahead, Maddie.
We made our own butterfly garden by planting milkweed, pineapple sage, and parsley. Yeah, parsley.
Oh, okay. Very good.
And they're important. I think that's what she's asking about. We need pollinators.
Pollinators? Grow food.
Thank you for that
Excellent.
answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I actually think that this is a great idea, and I do think that we should create a butterfly garden per the request at the Northwood Center, and I think that we should send the bill to Commissioner Rick Minor over at the County Commission for all construction costs associated with.
And have his staff maintain it.
All joking aside, I'd like to make a motion that we formally incorporate a butterfly garden at the development as we move forward with the Northwood Center based upon the recommendation of the Magnolia School. Is there a second to the motion? Why don't we do a unanimous second to the motion? Any further comment, Commissioner Matlow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I just want to welcome you all to City Hall. It's been great. We're always open. If you ever have an issue, you're always welcome to come speak here. And I know everybody gets nervous coming up to that podium, no matter what the issue. But I also want to thank you all for the letters that you've sent. This has been such a cool process to receive advocacy letters on a specific issue and then come up and address your public officials with a formal request. I just think is awesome. You've all done an exceptional job and happily support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Any other further comments?
Just a brief remark. This is an early lesson in civics education.
That's right.
How you interface with your government and influence your government. So 8th grade, you'll be required to take it if you're in a public school. I don't know if you all, what grade level is Magnolia? K through 8? Oh, yeah, 8th grade will be civics education. But this is your early lesson in civics education. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This is. And on a separate note, I do hope that we will take note that when the time comes for the ribbon cutting of this particular butterfly garden, you will have a formal invitation on behalf of the City Commission to come join us. And you don't even have to go back to school afterwards. You can take the day. Motion on the table that I made, unanimously seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Passes unanimously 5-0. Congratulations. Now, you are more than welcome to stay. We have other speakers that we're going to listen to. It is also appropriate if you all would like to quietly exit, whatever you wish to do. But thank you so much for coming to join us today. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other speakers on unagended items?
Mayor, we do.
Okay.
And first of those will be Michael McLaughlin and then Robert Lee.
Mr. McLaughlin, thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
All right, that was a hard act to follow. I'll try my best, though. Good afternoon. My name is Michael McLaughlin. I'm still at 100 Cadiz Street. And I wanted to speak earlier today at the budget hearing, but had to leave because in the middle of the day. Anyway, I wanted to speak on the notable increase to the police budget and ask why this is necessary, given that research in other cities has demonstrated repeatedly that if we do actually want to decrease crime rates in the city, the best way to do that is to put funding into social safety nets. That increasing the police budget, which of course, given HB1's impact on it, means that this increase would be a permanent increase. And I think that's sort of a permanent, increase to the police budget has questionable value. Increasing the number of officers on the streets increases crime rates simply because more officers are out there citing and arresting people. That's been demonstrated time and time again. And so if we do increase the number of TPD officers on the streets, next year we will have more crime in the city, given the data from the TPD, and will that justify another increase in police, and not just sort of this snowballing effect that, again, folks have looked at. Don't know if folks have done it specifically here in Tallahassee, but in other cities, they have found this effect, and that's very concerning to me. Again, I haven't looked at all our local data on exactly all the increases to the police budget here in Tallahassee, but I have noticed that it has gone up repeatedly in the last several years, and so has the crime rate. And, you know, I'm reminded of that quote that the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result. And that's what this looks like to me. This increase, this continual giving of money to the police department in the hopes that maybe this time it'll fix the crime rate, rather than looking to solutions that have actually demonstrated effects, such as, you know, ensuring affordable housing, access to healthcare, transportation, things like that. So I'll leave it at that. I will just though ask if the newly hired officers will also be allowed to abuse their children's prescription medicines without consequences. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Minor, before you leave, it's good to see you again, sir. Thank you. Welcome back. Absolutely. Mr. McLaughlin, thank you very much. Our next speaker, please.
Robert Lee, and then Tim Adams.
Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Robert Lee. My address is 5604 Rustic Drive. I'm here to speak today on the arrest that happened at the beginning of this month on April 3rd of 11 protesters that were here in town to protest for bodily autonomy. There were an enormous amount of police officers that poured out of this building right here, right outside, to drag away several people who were peaceably singing on a public sidewalk. Mind you, other people were allowed to walk up and down that sidewalk. It was stated that this was a park, which I've lived in Tallahassee since 2001. Let me tell you, when I was in school here, I certainly never came to play at this park. Does not seem like a park to me. It is City Hall. It is public property. It is a place where we should be able to speak our piece and to speak our voice. And I'm well aware of some comments that came from our city government saying that this is an issue with the state government, which I'm well aware of. There's a lot of issues with our state government. But the issue is that there's also a lot of laws that have been coming out of our state government, making it impossible, very difficult, or near impossible to protest at the Capitol, to protest at places that seem appropriate to our state government, because people will be arrested. So of course, you know, people thought, being in a progressive blue city, a city that claims to protect its people, to protect bodily autonomy, to protect all peoples of all colors and creeds, that, you know, maybe a city's location may have been a safer space for people. But despite that, 11 people were arrested right outside this building for protesting for their own bodily autonomy. It's honestly, to me, as a resident of Tallahassee, that was embarrassing. We were national, international news all over the world. I know I'm embarrassed. If y'all weren't embarrassed by that, honestly, that's very shocking to me. So I'm just here to demand that those, if there are any charges still being considered against any of those protesters, that they be dropped immediately. And honestly, I believe the city of Tallahassee owes those people an apology. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Next speaker is Tim Adams, followed by Brian Lupiani.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name's Tim Adams, 30526 St. Andrews Boulevard. I'm actually from Orlando area, and I came up here to, you know, deal with what's going on in the state. That building over there, lots of stuff. I go in there and speak at the commerce and the committees and all that stuff, tell them how much what they're doing is going to hurt people I work with and myself and my family. But I'm also well aware of the Occupy movement and the 11 that got arrested. But I wanted to say how beautiful this city is. Like, I also drive for Uber, and I've come to really like the parks. You have so many of them. I'm staying by the Cascades. I walked down a park that took me to a cemetery, and it was really reflective and beautiful to have that experience after fighting so much breaking stuff. It was very good. So the fact that he says that that was considered a park, when you have so many real amazing parks, and then to have that slab of concrete be called a park kind of confused me. I didn't even know that until he just said that. But coming from Orlando, I just think, and I can't say I speak for Orlando or I represent anyone there, but I think that the vast majority of people in that area would be on the side of let's not press charges against the 11 that were arrested. I think that sitting down and singing songs is not that horrible, especially if it's on a big concrete slab, not bothering or blocking or impeding anyone. I don't think they're any threat to anyone. Certainly, who's the victim? I think there's no victim. I don't think it can be considered a crime. I think they should be forgiven with no charges filed. If there's anything, maybe make a motion to dismiss any charges. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm sure that most people would. And other than that, I just want to say thanks for having me here, and keep it up as far as like the parks and the butterfly park. That's a great idea. We should be doing that all over the place. And stuff like that. It's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Brian Lupiani, and then Mark Okasako.
Thanks for joining us. Name and address for the record, please.
Brian Lupiani, 607 McDaniel Street, 32303. And actually, I was kind of hoping to go last. Don't have anything much prepared to say. I was just going to say I agree with what my predecessor said. So let me just say ahead of time, I agree with what they're going to say.
Absolutely.
This is about that English Forest Florida Forever proposal that Commissioner Porter brought up earlier, and thank you for doing that. So in addition to what they're saying, I just want to say thank you to the city for working with us, and let's get that letter of commitment by Friday morning, and hopefully this thing will go. It'll be a great addition to the southeast side of town. Thank you.
Absolutely. And before we get to the rest of the speakers, we did have a great conversation about this prior to the break. What is the status of the letter of recommendation? It's being drafted as we speak, Wayne? Okay, sounds great. So yeah, we will definitely have the letter. And yeah, we're looking forward to partner, and best of luck. Our next speaker.
Next speaker is Mark Okasako, followed by Midori Okasako.
My name is Mark Okasako, 1689 Silverwood Drive in the Blairstone Forest neighborhood. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for listening to my comments. Here's a quick update of our Florida Forever project application. The deadline for submission is at the end of this month. The application will be reviewed by ARC, which is the Acquisition and Restoration Council. If they approve the application, it will continue along in the process, which includes another review by ARC, a review by the Board of Trustees, and the Cabinet. However, to get to that point, we will have to submit a completed application. The application is almost complete. We're still waiting for the letter, which you've just mentioned, of commitment from the city, saying that they will be the managing entity for our project. Since the new year, we've had a couple of meetings with the city staff about our request for the city to be the managing entity of our Florida Forever project, which is called the Florida English Preserve. There's some good news. On Monday, April 24th, we were informed that staff was working on the letter of commitment. We hope that they can have the letter to us by tomorrow or no later than Friday morning, since the deadline is on April 30th, which is a Sunday, and we would prefer to submit the application on Friday, April 28th. So we look forward to receiving the letter of commitment and be able to submit our application to ARC. So thank you again for listening to my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Midori Okasako, and then Stephen Martin.
Frank, thanks for joining us. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, for the record, I am Midori Okasako, and I live in Blairstone Forest. Street address is 2776 Red Maple Ridge. I don't have anything drafted here, but firstly, as I was scaling up this tremendous slope, I had learned that Commissioner Portner had kindly mentioned about our efforts before the closing of the first session of the meeting. So I wanted to thank you for that and to have a lively discussion amongst you. Secondly, I am pleased, well, we are pleased that the city staff has finally emailed to us, actually last Friday, that they are in the process of drafting a commitment letter saying that the city will be the managing entity of our proposed project, which is the English Forest Preserve with a nature corridor within the 770 acre, actually 500 acres of the English property PUD. And since we launched our petition, which was the day before my birthday, about 2 weeks ago, we were able to collect online and physical petition signature for our petition. And as modest as it may be, we were able to collect about 100 signatures. So I just wanted to thank everyone, our community, for voicing their support for our efforts, as well as believing in each of you, including our city staff, that this will be the beginning of a robust meeting with the city staff. Because it's very important that we start the channel with the city staff, as they are the main decision makers. And one of the comments that one of the signature had mentioned is, I believe habitat conservation, smart economic growth, and responsiveness to residents can and must go together. Responsible environmental stewardship should go hand in hand with public health and a vibrant economy. And last but not least, I would like to leave with the thought that this city here, City of Tallahassee, is no ordinary city in Florida, but it is the capital. So we need to take pride in this wonderful merit that we have. So I hope that each and every one of you, including us citizens, will take that into mind. And I would like to present this petition.
I'll take that.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Stephen Martin, followed by Jose Diaz.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Stephen Martin, 2625 Stonegate Drive. Save the English Forest endeavor actually began as an effort to save a forest. Right now, it's not quite what we started at. I thank each of you for being willing to share your time and willingness to meet. Yeah, forest and canopy cover do receive significant attention locally, some favorable and some not so favorable. One of your county commissioners has proposed to kind of take local management and development from the federal protected land in the Appalachian National Forest, Apalachicola National. That same commissioner, though, when riding on a train west of here through forested area in 2016, said it was gorgeous riding through all those woods back there. It looked like God started Mother Nature right there, where you can clear your mind, you can feel good about yourself and life. Well, when you get into the woods, of course, things can change. I'd suggest you get out, get into that forested area before it's destroyed. See if all of a sudden you maybe see a different value. Yeah, separation of church and state. I don't think it necessarily means to abandon your conviction. I know one of you mentioned your religious conviction is consistent with environmental stewardship. I'd like to believe that you carry those convictions beyond one time per week for 1 or 2 hours in a designated place of worship and can actually bring them with you to your dais when you're making decisions. Perhaps when it comes to policies with forests, trees, land, the environment, we might rethink separation. So strictly adhering to it. As noted, this endeavor began as an effort to preserve forested tract. We're hoping to actually expand what we're now proposing to Florida forever and to take this all the way to the Apalachicola National Forest. Hopefully it'll still be. And then, in fact, that forested tract used to stretch all across North Florida. Gadsden County, where one of you grew up, all the way to Duval County. I know one of you grew up somewhere over there. A couple of you grew up in Tallahassee. I'd like to think what was here before we were doesn't matter. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Jose Diaz. Mayor, that concludes our speakers for me.
Excellent. Your name and address for the record, please.
Jose Diaz, 215 West College Avenue. I always tell everyone I'm really privileged because I get to live in Tallahassee 6 months out of the year. So one of my hats is I'm the coordinator of Miami-Dade County Days in Tallahassee. Miami is actually officially my home. And I just wanted to come up and thank and let you know what a phenomenal staff you have. We're one of the few events. We actually charter a 180-seat airplane that we fly up with our city leaders and our community leaders. And Thomas Virgo at your airport does a phenomenal job accommodating us. And we're in touch with him actually about almost 2 months before, so that when our plane gets here, they're ready to go. They do a phenomenal staff job at the airport. And I just want to let you know, Commissioner Matlow, Ryan in your office was very helpful this year in putting us in touch with the correct people and the departments. And Jennifer Carter, your superintendent for special events. We not only what we do at the Capitol, but we do an event at Kleeman Plaza that we call a pig roast. We probably have over 500-600 people there. She did a phenomenal job and does a great job helping us with so that we stay within the rules and just do, everything goes smoothly. Our off-duty, I believe the police chief is here, but his off-duty staff, his off-duty police officers, we have to be open to the public. So having them there, they really help us, control, especially having some of the college kids come in and stuff like that. So I just wanted to come and say, we've been doing this for 35 years. I'm sorry I haven't been here before to let you know that your staff really does a great job in helping us put our event on during session. Thank you.
Great.
Hey, thank you. What a great note to end on, that's for sure. Thank you. Any other public speakers?
No, sir.
So before we close out tonight, I do want to also mention that I had the opportunity on Monday to represent the city at the Law Enforcement Memorial Service that is held honoring all statewide law enforcement officers that lost their lives in the line of duty last year. And unfortunately, the City of Tallahassee was participating, honoring Officer Chris Ferriello, who we lost in the line of duty last year. His parents, Rick and Teresa, were in town. I had the opportunity to spend some time with them. They're wonderful people, but the police department did a wonderful job, not only hosting the Ferriello family, but representing the capital city at the memorial as well. Thank you very much. It's been a great meeting at 6:35. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand adjourned.